What is going on, everybody? AHS Rules back again with another video, and we're here for a wrestling fantasy booking video, something that I've not done in a hot minute. But to be exact, we're here for how I would book WWE Bad Blood 2024. We have a lot to talk about in the course of this video. Of course, WWE Bad Blood taking place October 5th, 2024. I very much enjoy doing wrestling fantasy booking videos, but in the case of WWE, we're in a weird and I'm not going to say transitional, but a weird time period, because with these premium live events, pay-per-views, whatever you want to call them, I might call them either through the course of this video, but during this time period, we are only getting like 5 matches a show, and it's very difficult to put an imprint, put a fantasy booking card together, and especially because everything is such laid out. Or I would say a majority of this card that I suggest is based on rivalries that have been going on for a long time and can conclude at this event. So through the course of this video, I'm going to go through matches and say, yes, they should take place at this event, while also providing other match suggestions to take place during the course of this month or so, I would say. So it's how I'd book how I'd book Bad Blood 2024 plus some more. And I will also say a majority of this stuff is stuff that I've already said before throughout prediction videos and other videos as well, but they still haven't happened. So that's why I'm saying it again here. So here we go. Match number 1. The main match, the one I more than likely put in the thumbnail for this video, is the match that we are clamoring to see one last time, the conclusion to the trilogy, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre III, and with this event being titled Bad Blood, and every Bad Blood event that has happened in WWE history has had a Hell in the Cell match, it would make sense that this third matchup take place inside Hell in the Cell, be a conclusion to such a great story that has been going on. Such a shocking story, because when CM Punk first came back to WWE, you didn't really expect Drew McIntyre to be thrust into the spot that he is in, but things are just kind of destined to happen the way that they have, and again, this just makes all the sense for this to be in a Hell in the Cell. Like I said, all the Bad Blood 97, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, great Hell in a Cell match. Bad Blood 03, kind of try to forget about it. Triple H, Kevin Nash. Bad Blood 04, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, which people talk about that match a lot for some reason. They should talk more about the 97 match. So, there's that. One last thing. I said this in my Bash in Berlin predictions. I was trying to manifest it there. We still have a month for this. I'm going to try to manifest it here. Drew McIntyre should come out to Broken Dreams. He wants to break CM Punk's dreams. He wants to be the old Drew McIntyre. And everybody's like, oh my God, he's coming out to Broken Dreams. And then CM Punk says, screw all that. And he comes out to this Fireburns. I just want to see CM Punk come out to this Fireburns one last time. This is a perfect match for this to happen. And yes, it's very reminiscent to an AEW when he came out to his ROH theme. And it'd kind of be somewhat like that here as well. I try to manifest Randy Orton coming out to Burn My Light at Bash in Berlin, but the moment I realized, oh yeah, the crowd started singing voices, I'm like, we're never ever getting Burn My Light back. So there's that. It's nothing that sad. So Hell in the Cell. It's kind of weird to start with the biggest match first, but it ultimately makes the most sense, and it kind of questions like, what the hell else could we expect? Women's title match, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley. At some point, this will happen once again, do the finish at SummerSlam where Liv technically cheated to win. At Bash in Berlin, Rhea pinned Liv again. And Rhea Ripley has not, in a one-on-one match, got the upper hand on Liv Morgan. So this match, at some point, will take place. I do think a stipulation will be added at some point. Now, the big question here is like, do they do this match in the Hell in the Cell? Because that could make sense, but do you want to do 2 Hell in the Cell matches on the same card? You know, questions that you realistically could ask, but I said this in my Bash in Berlin predictions. The ultimate conclusion to this I almost called it Bloodline, Judgment Day versus Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest storyline is Rhea Ripley hitting the Riptide on Dominic Mysterio. It's been teased a couple of times. That is the ultimate endpoint. Whenever the hell that happens, this thing is done. I can see them extending this to War Games, and I have a whole theory and synopsis there, because if you've looked at War Games since being on the main roster, which we've only had 2 years of this, there's been a men's War Games and a women's War Games. Now, the other thing is that they've been split by brand. So in 2022, the women's War Games was Raw versus Raw, and the men's was SmackDown versus SmackDown. Where you go to last year, 2023, the women's War Games was SmackDown versus SmackDown, and the men's was Raw versus Raw. Granted, there is the random person added that was from the other brand, but the whole plot point is that it's gender specific, roster specific. And if I was to guesstimate, and we will get to this down the line once we talk about the men's War Games, which we'll talk about Bad Blood. Obviously, it could lead to that. But the men's War Games is more than likely going to be SmackDown heavy. We're at the women's War Games. If we're going off this synopsis and theory that I have, probably will be on the Raw brand. I also have a thought process where it could be 3-on-3-on-3, because we have several women's trios popping up out of nowhere, but I don't think they want to confuse the fan base too much by having two different types of War Games matches. But moral of the story is I could see a team Rhea Ripley versus team Liv Morgan taking place at War Games. Now, back to Bad Blood. Intercontinental title match. Braun Breaker versus Jey Uso. Now, I am making this video prior to Raw, prior to the number one contender for the IC title to happen. Will be a great fatal four-way. I am all right with any of those men winning this match, but it has been teased too much, and Jey Uso and Braun Breaker have had the face-to-faces where it wouldn't make the most sense for Jey Uso to lose. Even though, like I just said, I'm all right with any of the participants winning. Now, this is a weird thought process that I have. We're in football season, so this is when WWE sometimes they care about the ratings, sometimes they don't. But it's mainly like once Monday Night Football starts, they try to bolster up Raw. And especially this is the first week that this is going to be a test. Bret Hart is going to be on Raw tonight. Does that have to do with Monday Night Football? My thought process, it does. Point being, I could see WWE throughout the coming weeks trying to bolster up Raw, not necessarily SmackDown because they're not competing with Monday Night Football. So, not at Bad Blood, but on the post-Bad Blood episode of Raw, we get the World Heavyweight title match between Gunther and Sami Zayn. Again, this matchup was just teased on Raw, and there's a reason I'm connecting this with the IC title. But Gunther Sami Zayn is a story that makes a lot of sense because Gunther has rarely been defeated on the main roster or in WWE in general, and one of the few men to do that is Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn just lost that IC title that Gunther held. And in wrestling / WWE tradition, whoever is Intercontinental Champion normally is next up for the world title. Sometimes that's the case, sometimes it isn't. But again, this is one of those time periods where it is that. And again, it makes sense because Sami Zayn has beaten Gunther. So he thinks he can beat him again. It makes all the sense of the world. In my opinion, I feel they probably should have held off on this until around the Royal Rumble because that story isn't going to change, but it makes sense. Now, my only real issue, and it's not that big of an issue. Gunther's world title reign is starting, so if he loses, I'd be upset, but maybe they're trying to wash that away and just make Gunther back to that dominant champion, and the one loss that he has kind of gets wiped away. Maybe that's it. But again, the small issue is I don't see Gunther losing. I'm going to hope he doesn't lose. The other thing, this is the bigger issue that I have, is that WWE was teasing, hey, Sami Zayn and Jey Uso, we're good friends. We should go for the tag team title. We would be great tag team champions. And both of them ultimately are like, yeah, we're going to go for the IC title. We're going to go for, they just threw that tag team title stuff out of the window, which was extremely weird to me. So, there's that. Now, one last thing on Jey Uso. / a small issue that I have. And again, this is a fantasy booking video. I'm going to try to retroly fantasy book something that I feel WWE messed up. And I think a lot of people think WWE messed up with this. The Money in the Bank briefcase. Mr. Money in the Bank, to be exact. Drew McIntyre won it, and it feels very forgotten because he held it for around an hour and he immediately lost his world title match because CM Punk got involved. It made sense because it gave more reason for Drew McIntyre to hate CM Punk. CM Punk was, again, looking for revenge on Drew McIntyre. I even questioned during the process of all that why didn't Punk just cost Drew the Money in the Bank match, you know? You can't really change that. The only thing that I liked about that situation is that it connected Seth Rollins back to Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. I like that part. But ultimately, looking at it, he was just added to be the referee at SummerSlam. I feel that they could have done... This is going to be very complicated. I apologize. But I feel that they could have just had Rollins been the referee for the SummerSlam match without involving this Money in the Bank briefcase. Now, you're probably wondering, what does it have to do with Jey Uso? I think that Jey Uso should have won. I think he should have won the Money in the Bank briefcase. Because he has not done much since now getting added into this IC title picture. He has not done much since Money in the Bank. That's thing one. Thing two, he was on the poster, so it would have been like, oh, the poster boy won, hooray. Thing three, they could have made a lot of money off of Jey Uso Money in the Bank briefcases. I very much believe that. And thing four, this could have been the perfect way to add Jey Uso and, to an extent, Sami Zayn back to this bloodline storyline. And this leads into the other parts of Bad Blood. Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa. I could definitely see them doing this match at Crown Jewel, but I think this would be a perfect and great match to have at Bad Blood. I also probably won't do a Crown Jewel fantasy booking video, so this is just a good time for me to suggest it here. But we have imagined for the longest time at Survivor Series, it's going to be OG Bloodline versus New Bloodline in the War Games match. I'm getting snotty. It's getting cold. Normally, I start sweating on my videos, but it's getting colder around here, so I'm going to not get as sweaty anymore. That's a random tidbit, but it's getting cold. Back to Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa. This match will happen. I'm glad that they're doing Solo Sikoa and Cody Rhodes on SmackDown in a steel cage. Love steel cage matches, and we're talking about War Games. It's the ultimate steel cage match. Roman Reigns is more likely going to get involved in that. I would be surprised if he didn't. Roman and Solo will happen at some point this year. They try to hold that off until Mania. I feel they're a bit insane for that. But back to New Bloodline, OG Bloodline. It's like, I don't logically see a way that they get Jey Uso and or Sami Zayn back involved with this. Where if Jey Uso was Mr. Money in the Bank, he can go wherever the hell he wants to cash in. And he could have teased cashing in on Cody. I know that him and Cody are good friends. They're tag champions for like 2 or 3 weeks. He could have teased cashing in on Solo, somebody that, while he is his brother, they got beef, you know? And Solo's beating up Jey Uso for like half a year, almost a year now. So, I think that WWE, I'm not going to say they ultimately messed up, but this would have been a way better solution than what we ultimately got, and it could have added them back to this Bloodline storyline. Granted, they'll probably do it regardless, and we'll celebrate it. It'll be fine and dandy, but I overthink things. This is one of those things that I overthought. Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa at Bad Blood. I will also say, I don't know who should win this match. I think everything is telling me Solo should win, and it would make him a bigger deal because he doesn't have, outside of like the Money in the Bank 6-man, and I'm not even going to mention the John Cena victory because it's very forgotten. This would be like a ultimate big victory for him, but it's Roman Reigns. Would more than likely be his first match back since WrestleMania. So I think all signs would be point to a Roman Reigns win. As now we get to this last match for Bad Blood. WWE title match, Cody Rhodes versus the winner of the best of between Andrade and Carmelo Hayes. I'd lean towards Andrade. Cody Rhodes has had a great WWE title run. I don't know why people think it. I think people think it is boring because none of the matches that Cody has had, it seemed like he is going to lose. I was trying to manifest Kevin Owens winning, but at the end of the day, I ultimately didn't see Cody losing that. That's okay. Where he's putting on great matches, SummerSlam, talk about it how you want to. I didn't hate it. Where Cody Rhodes and Andrade, on paper, sounds like a great match. It has happened before in a different place, but this will be a great match. And Cody Rhodes and Carmelo Hayes has happened before. So that's why I ultimately suggested that it be the winner of this great best of series that Andrade and Carmelo has. Hell, you can extend that best of series. I don't think they want. They could, but I think concluding it on the upcoming episode of SmackDown would be fine and dandy. And this is something that is going to be a weird tangent. It's not a tangent, but thought process that I'll get into, plugging a different video by GM, is that I was doing a best of series for the tag team titles, and it made me think that, like, almost every best of series in wrestling that I could, like, Sheamus and Cesaro, the Elite and Death Triangle, Booker T, and almost all of every one of those series went to 7, or that last matchup. Where in real sports, a lot of the times, like, the best of 7, when it goes to that 7th game, it makes it a lot better, but a lot of times they don't. So this is, again, one of those cases where this best of series is going to this last matchup. So just a weird thought process that I have in my mind. So, how I'd book Bad Blood. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre in Hell in the Cell. Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, a stipulation match for the women's title. You could do it in a Hell in the Cell, but I don't know if you want to bolster up and have 2 Hell in the Cell matches. I wouldn't complain about it. Braun Breaker versus Jey Uso for the IC title. Braun Breaker versus the winner of that 4-way. I anticipate it being Jey Uso. WWE title match, Cody Rhodes versus Andrade, or Carmelo Hayes, would prefer it be Andrade, and Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa. I suggested, this is the other part. So, like I said, that would be the traditional pay-per-view. Now, what WWE has been doing for the past year or so is having these premium live events and then bolstering up the go-home episode of SmackDown or the post-episode of Raw to also feature big matches that could happen to those premium live events. So I'm going to quickly run through some of those that, again, could fit on Bad Blood, but would ultimately probably be a big Raw or SmackDown match. I already suggested one, World title match, Gunther versus Sami Zayn. U.S. title match, LA Knight has been doing open challenges, continue to do them. Again, the winner of that best of series could ultimately face LA Knight and be rewarded with a title shot against LA Knight, but I'd much rather see a Cody matchup and have LA Knight continuing doing these open challenges. Also, have AJ Styles answer one of these open challenges. That way, he is back on TV and has returned, because it seems he has not been doing much since his match in Japan. SmackDown Tag Title match. This is extremely wild, but Guerrillas of Destiny versus R-KO. I would love to see a Randy Orton and Kevin Owens tag team title run. I don't know if it'll happen or not. I would love to see it, though. Lastly, and I've said this 4 months, this will be the last time that I say it. Raw tag team titles. Finn Balor and JD McDonough versus Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee. I want to see a Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee tag team title reign. I want to see Rey Mysterio have a tag team or a tag team title run that doesn't end with his partner turning on him. I feel that Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee would be the perfect tag team, a great tag team, and they're also already in the same faction. And the tag division in WWE is in a terrible spot right now. At least the Raw side. I know I crap on the AEW tag team division, but it's not as bad as the WWE. So I will at least apologize for that. But it's just like, for Finn Balor and JD McDonough, they get beat up every week by Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley. And these are our tag champions. Now, you could ultimately say the same thing about Guerrillas of Destiny, but at least with the Bloodline, they're not getting beat up every freaking week. And their title run hasn't really been anything of note. It's been more notable than the Raw tag title run. But at least I feel that both factions, the Bloodline and Judgment Day, having the tag titles is supposed to like bolster them up, and it hasn't done that for the Judgment Day. With the Bloodline, it has, because they've been booked to look dominant and are dominant. It's very much that meme of flirting and harassment where on paper it should be the same idea, but in actuality, one works and is good, and the other one I just am not the biggest fan of. But I just want to see a change with this Raw Tag Team title division, and I feel it could start with Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee. Or if you want to sign somebody else, and I have also been saying this for freaking months and doing this for freaking months, you can have them carry the tag titles. But that is it. This is a long fantasy booking video. I am not going to guarantee, but I do plan on doing a fantasy booking for all AEW, I almost said All In, All Elite Wrestling, Wrestle Dream. The ultimate goal, I will say, and something that I've been working on for weeks, and something that I just can't really wait to do, I don't know when it will be done, is a fantasy booking for the Continental Classic 2. It will happen in the next 3 months. I don't know the perfect time period for it. Maybe closer to time of the actual Continental Classic. It hasn't even been confirmed or denied if we're getting one, but I would imagine with how last year's went, you have to do another one. If you don't, you're letting so many people down. But because I did this Bad Blood fantasy booking, it's going to make me feel more obligated to do one for Wrestle Dream. It's not guaranteed, but I'm going to try my best to do so. So I also plan on having another My GM video this week as well. So I'll see y'all when I see y'all. I do appreciate y'all for watching this. Like and subscribe. Stay safe. And I'll see you in the next one. And I'm going to wipe my nose because I did get very snotty for that couple minute period. But it doesn't matter. It's over and done with. So I do appreciate y'all for watching. I'm out.